Coming to you live from the MediaPlex in downtown Windsor, this is a presentation of St. Clair College Journalism.
On tonight's show, taxi cab concerns, after-school programs, and coffee benefits. Good evening. I'm Chelsea Turnbull, and you are watching MediaPlex News Now. Uber has been operating in Windsor for almost a week now, and there have been mixed reactions across the city. Residents say they enjoy having another option, but cab drivers say it's stealing their business. Sean Preble joins us live with the details. Sean?
Chelsea, Uber has reached worldwide name recognition with it being available in 65 countries. However, its operation outside of Windsor city bylaws is resulting in council looking at how to better regulate the service.
Welcome to Uber.
Now that Uber's been on the road almost a week, Windsorites have another way of getting around town. All it takes is touching a few buttons on your phone and the app will order the car closest to you. Mayor Drew Dilkins says the fast rollout was unexpected but welcomed.
And it was just a matter of time before they started here. No one would have predicted that it would have happened in three and a half weeks. But that's the scenario that has happened and played out.
All Uber drivers must obtain a national criminal background check and have a driver's motor vehicle screening. Driver Brian Price says it's up to him to ensure people's safety when they get in his car.
So at the end of the day, you want to be able to make sure that you keep attention to what's going on both in the car and outside of the car, and be as courteous as humanly possible.
However, the new service has also caused concerns among cab drivers and their union.
Our members are losing business to a service that's not complying by the same bylaws.
As a result, a report requesting the hiring of a consultant to regulate the ride-sharing operation was brought before council and approved. John Toth, first vice president of Unifor Local 195, which represents taxi drivers, says he's happy with the result.
So it's not a level playing field right now. They're being allowed to operate, or they thought they were going to be able to come in here and allow to operate without complying with the rules. But the city has made it clear that up until the time that those rules are reviewed and revised, the expectation is that they will have to comply.
There was also discussion over whether to wait for other cities to finish their own reports, but Dilkins says the city cannot wait for others.
For us to delay is just going to continue to provide a competitive disadvantage to Vets Taxi as Uber starts eating their lunch in the city of Windsor and they're unregulated currently.
Administration will now look into hiring the consultant, which will cost an estimated $30,000. But with Uber now in operation, this won't be the last we'll hear of the issue.
Thanks, Sean. Recent events in Paris have left the world reeling and confused. Jonathan Hutton attempts to clarify the situation in this Military Minute.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Hutton, and this is your Military Minute. Justin Trudeau faced his first international meeting as Prime Minister of Canada over the weekend at the G20 summit in Turkey. International security was at the top of the agenda with the recent terror attacks in France. Trudeau made it clear that despite an increase in international terrorism, he will still be pulling out the 6 CF-18 fighter jets that have been conducting airstrikes in Iraq and Syria. However, Trudeau is not abandoning the mission completely. Instead, he has pledged to increase the number of special operations personnel to train local militias on how to fight the Islamic State on the ground. Meanwhile, France has increased its airstrikes against ISIS to 20 in one night following Friday's attacks on Paris that left 129 people dead. France has since mobilized 115,000 security personnel and has conducted over 128 raids across the country. Here at the MediaPlex, we'd like to offer our condolences to all the victims of Friday's terrorist attacks and to the French people, nous sommes avec vous. I'm Jonathan Hutton.
Moving on, we have a special guest with us today to do a live interview about Crime Stoppers. Let's go outside to Jillian Tillman.
Ron Funkenhauser is the program manager for Crime Stoppers. Ron, can you tell us a little bit about what's going on right now with Crime Stoppers?
Well, Jillian, there's always a ton of fundraising going on with Crime Stoppers. What a lot of people don't realize is that Crime Stoppers is a nonprofit charity. So our mandate is to take anonymous information to help catch the bad guys that are on the street. But in order for us to do that, we have to do fundraisers constantly. So the big one that we're working on now is our Wild Game Dinner out at Colasani's. We sell out every year at 600 tickets, and that's a big one for us. We generate a lot of proceeds from that.
Great. And what has some of the responses been from the public?
Oh, Crime Stoppers is well respected in the community. Again, we're anonymous, so when people call us, we don't take their name, we don't take their information at all. So they feel secure in calling us. So people feel good. They give us tons of information. The public would be shocked if they actually knew all the information that our program takes from the public. The one thing for us is it's kind of tough is the community wants to know all the good things that we do and the cases that we solve, and because we have to protect the anonymity of our tipsters, we can't comment on all the cases, so we keep stats, but the program takes amazing amount of information each and every day, and we're responsible for solving a lot of cases in our community.
So just really quickly, I know you're moving on to another opportunity, but what have been some of your best experiences in the last 20 years?
Gosh, that's tough, Jillian. The 20 years has been amazing. We've got, there's so many, I don't even know where to start, but it's been an amazing experience. I'm looking forward to the new challenge, but I'm sure the program will prosper and move on.
Thank you, Ron. I'm Jillian Toman, and you've been watching Ron Funkenhauser from Crime Stoppers. Back to you, Chelsea.
If you thought your parents were tough on you, you may want to think again. Why? Well, I'll leave that to Christian Bouchard.
Whether it is the next Roberto Luongo or the next Sidney Crosby, many Canadians share the same goal: to make it to the NHL. With the young athlete's dream of making it big often comes the same from their parents. However, some athletes are saying the parents take it too far. Youth sports long have been seen as a ticket to college scholarships. As college costs go even higher, parents may be putting more pressure on their children to snag some of that cash. But as the stakes grow, the children are the ones losing. According to a study done by Michigan State University, 70% of children drop out of sports by the age of 13, and a big reason is that their parents are putting too much pressure on them. Cole Zell is a youth hockey player for the Amherstburg Stars. Despite his love for both the game and his parents, he said it would be much easier if all he had to do was focus on the game itself.
They do look ridiculous, I'll tell you that. I mean, when they're screaming and yelling and you see them in the stands and everyone else is just looking at them, I mean, it does look ridiculous.
Derek Taylor is the head coach for the Stars. He said if the kids are just given the chance to play without the pressure, they will flourish and make the parents proud.
A good example is you'll have other parents attack other kids and stuff like that, verbally and mentally, which just isn't fair at all. When you come inside these doors, you're supposed to respect everything, stay up in the stands, keep your mouth shut, cheer for the kids, and that's all you need to do. You get a lot of parents that relive their glory days of playing a sport, and they can just get a little bit over competitive.
According to the study done by MSU, winning was just one of 81 determinants that make playing youth sports enjoyable for children. It was rated 48th, which means that there are 47 more important things that children, coaches, parents, and league administrators should be focusing on. However, when it came down to it, the athletes had one last message for their parents.
Let us play!
For MediaPlex News, I'm Christian Bouchard.
And now we'll take a break from the studio to go back outside, where Jillian will give you the early weather report. How is it out there, Jillian?
We've had a couple of days of above average temperature, but it looks like that's about to change. Tonight we can expect a mild 13 degrees. I'll be back a little later to tell you how the rest of the weather will shape up. Back to you, Chelsea.
Thanks, Jillian. Have you ever wanted to start your own company? Well, Dan Need tells you a little bit about his company in this episode of 3 Minutes With.
Hello, my name is Melissa Muni, and this is 3 Minutes with founder and CEO of MedViewMD, Dan Need. Dan Need's mission is quite simple: to enhance and access the quality of healthcare for all Canadians. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So recently, MedViewMD and Hunter's Pharmacy at 3019 Tecumseh Road East joined together here in Windsor. Could you tell us about MedViewMD and what it provides for our community?
So for the community, we see it as a real game changer in that, particularly if you don't have a family physician, it's most vulnerable. You think about those members in society, in your community, that do not have access to a family physician. This is very important to us. The delivery of our health care is quite comprehensive in that we offer both the family medicine and we're now looking into areas of addiction as well. The good thing about this, it's comprehensive, it's efficient. The fact that you're in the studio, hopefully less than 7 to 10 minutes, we see it as a real game changer again for the people here.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So you said medical studio. Can you explain the concept of that?
So the studio is we like to call it studio. We're moving away from the stigma of the clinic. We're trying to take this forward into a new direction that changes the way that patients see their physician and that whole encounter. So basically what you're doing is it's the latest of technologies and communications, and it allows the patient to see the physician pretty much by way of over the internet. And it's that support or that workflow that supports that delivery allows for the latest and greatest in digital peripherals. So, for instance, it allows the patient experience, allows the patient to view the ear for examining the eardrum itself for an ear infection, or if it's strep throat, you need to we have a digital device that allows you to see your inside your throat. So it's very meaningful for the patient in that they have an opportunity to really see why it is that they're in there when they walk out. We hope that it's been really effective for that patient. So yeah, it's kind of the way it's done. And again, it's what's great about it too is it is covered through OHIP. So again, for those patients in the community without health care, we're there for them.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been 3 Minutes with Dan Need.
In a world powered by unclean energy, many people are turning to environmentally friendly modes of transportation, such as biking. However, it is sometimes difficult to stay safe on a bike. But don't worry, because reporter Sean Frame brings you some tips on how to protect yourself.
On Friday, November 6th, a cyclist riding northbound on Dougal towards Erie was the victim of a hit and run. Cycling is becoming an increasingly popular alternative means of transportation, and with that, bike safety education is on the rise. Windsor Police Sergeant Matt Dasty says the first step to preventing these types of hit and runs is educating both motorists and cyclists.
To keep your eye out for people on bicycles, obviously we need to share the roadway. We all belong on the roadway, and it needs to be shared by all users in a safe manner.
The Ontario Administration of Transportation added new biking legislation in September earlier this year. By law, bikes must now have red lights fitted on the back and white lights fitted on the front. In addition, there is a requirement of 1 meter while attempting to overtake a cyclist. Dasty said these laws will hopefully make people more cognizant of each other while sharing the road. Salesperson and mechanic at the City Cyclery, Oliver Swainson, says upon any sales, he reminds customers of the new legislation.
Reflectors being sort of the old method of staying visible at night. They work, but not nearly as effectively. Essentially, since they require a light source to shine on them, to shine back, if there's no light source and or if there is, if the car isn't directly shining their headlights on you, then it's not going to work. But with lights, you can get them as bright and as visible as possible.
Locally, the city has made an effort to become more bike-friendly. In 2014, Windsor City Council endorsed $1.8 million to construct a 17.8-kilometer cycling facility. For MediaPlex News Now, I'm Sean Frame.
What children do after school is an increasing priority. Kenneth Bullock reports.
The Ontario government is investing $13.5 million into after-school programs in the province.
According to after-school programs in Windsor, funding is really most important for the children and their families.
The investment is to help children develop healthy eating habits, get more active, become more confident, and achieve more in school. Terra Armstrong, Director of Community Programs at the YMCA, said after-school programs are beneficial for children.
A big part of children being engaged after school is it's giving them something to look forward to outside of school hours that allows them to be active and engaged in their community.
Armstrong said after the pool at the YMCA was closed some years back, they lost a few kids and parents along with funding. Being well-funded helps low-income families educate their children. Lisa Gretzky, Windsor West MPP, said this Ontario Fund is positive for Windsor.
It's definitely a step in the right direction. I'm not entirely certain it goes far enough as far as educating kids on healthy lifestyles. That's also something that can be addressed in the schools.
It's important for kids to learn to eat and play healthy at an early age, according to Gretzky. She said many agencies in Windsor will be receiving funds from the Ontario government. For MediaPlex News, I'm Kenneth Bullock.
Check out this edition of 3 Minutes With, where Michael Hugel sat down with Jermaine Lynch.
Hi, I'm Michael Hugel, and this is my 3 Minutes With Saints starting point guard, Jermaine Lynch. Now, Jermaine, a 2-5 record to start the season, What's the mindset of the team right now?
Our mindset, we're not really trying to get too caught up into our record right now because it's still early, and everybody's going to have highs and lows, you know, for the season. So I'd rather us deal with adversity now than later so we can learn how to deal with it and progress through and push through it.
Now, a big game coming up against Redeemer. What can you take away from your split against Lambton and Sioux College?
We could just take a lot of the positives that we had from executing, making our defense score for us so we get easy buckets out in transition, and just working as a team, like coming together as a team, because it's pretty much like for the most part a new team, so we're learning how to work with each other and things like that. So we're progressing and we're getting better, so we just build on that.
Any improvements?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
What would be like the biggest improvement?
Just being a unit, like one unit, knowing what one another likes to do, where sometimes someone stops out wide in the corner where you think they're going to the basket. So just the miscommunication and little things like that we're fixing up on and getting sharp.
Now, starting at point guard for St. Clair, previously with Wayne County in Michigan, Wayne County Community College, what's the biggest difference, would you say, between playing in Michigan as opposed to playing here in your hometown of Windsor?
One of the biggest ones would probably be it's a little more aggressive over there, a little more physical, and guys are a little bit bigger over there. Other than that, it's pretty much the same. It's fast-paced, things like that. So it wasn't too hard to transition from over there to here.
Now, I know just from following you playing with Forrester and also with the Core City Hoops, so minor organization, you could say, you played with a guy like Michael Mulder, who is now playing with the University of Kentucky. Obviously, Kentucky plays Duke tonight.
Right.
What do you think makes Michael Mulder a great player and gives him that opportunity to play for a high-quality university like the University of Kentucky?
He's super talented and he works very hard. Like, he's not one of the players that just thinks they're talented and stops working hard. He always works. So it's good to see him get that opportunity and get a chance like that. He's super athletic. He can run the court really well. And I'm excited to see him tonight.
And obviously, has this shaped the way you kind of have your favorite team in college basketball?
Of course. I'll support Michael, of course, 100%.
All right, and last question, just about you. Averaging 10 points a game, you're good for 4th on the team. What's your attitude toward that? Like, do you feel you can make any significant improvements as a player?
For sure. Just getting like more of my rhythm going earlier on in the game and staying out of foul trouble and things like that.
Thank you, Jermaine. This has been my 3 minutes with Saint starting point guard, Jermaine Lynch.
And now let's go back down to the corner of University and Victoria, where Jillian will give you your 3-day forecast.
Thank you, Chelsea. Here's a fun fact for you. We've experienced warmer than usual temperatures lately, but did you know that the warmest temperature ever recorded in Antarctica was 14 degrees on January 5th, 1974? Let's take a look at our 3-day forecast. On Wednesday, we can expect some light rain with a high of 17 and a low of 9. Thursday, we'll have a mix of sun and clouds with a high of 12 and a low of 2. And on Friday, it'll be mainly sunny with a cool high of 7 and low of 0. That's it for weather on the corner of Victoria and University. Back to you, Chelsea.
Windsor Fire and Rescue Services has one of the slowest response time in the Essex County, although it is only by 20 seconds. How can that be improved? Dan Gray reports.
According to provincial reports that ranks fire departments across the country, Windsor Fire takes 20 seconds longer to get to a call than any of the other 10 departments surveyed. Chief Bruce Montone believes that although the report doesn't compare apples to apples, the average time for calls could be reduced by adding different technology to their fire vehicles.
So our plan includes actually 10 different initiatives that will assist us in using technology to enhance performance.
One of the initiatives is to add mobile data terminals to their vehicles. These would allow them to know exactly where the unit is at all times. Montone says it would change the way they dispatch equipment.
We can change our response model from fixed locations to the closest resource that's necessary to deal with a particular call for assistance.
According to John Lee, the Public Information Officer for Windsor Fire and Rescue Services, he says some of the apps will definitely enhance the ability of on-scene fire personnel.
The ones in the trucks will have, in with the geographical mapping, it'll have all the water grids, all the hydrant locations. So when the crews are arriving on scene, they can find the location of the nearest hydrant, the size of the hydrant, or the main.
Helga Rydell, the city's chief administration officer, says the department has set guidelines to follow in order to receive any funding from the city.
What they would have to do is the same as any other department. They submit their case and why that expenditure is important to council.
The department estimates it will cost approximately $90,000 to equip all their vehicles. They plan to approach council sometime next year. For MediaPlex News, I'm Dan Gray.
Reports are published all the time about whether or not caffeine is a good or a bad thing. So what's the answer? Well, it just might be both. Reporter Ashley Ann Mentley tells you why.
Hi, I'm Ashley Ann Mentley, and in this week's Health Minute, we're looking at the effects of drinking coffee. Approximately 642 million cups of coffee are drank around the world each day. If you combine that with tea, caffeinated pop, and energy drinks, about 90% of people consume caffeine in one way or another. Many people can't imagine getting through the day without it. So is this a bad thing? Not entirely. Research has shown that coffee can help prevent diseases like stroke and certain cancers, lower risk of Parkinson's and dementia, and even boost our concentration and memory. And of course, it helps to wake us up. Like always though, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. Caffeine, which is technically a drug, has some negative side effects too. It can increase anxiety, sleeplessness, blood sugar levels, and blood pressure. It can also interact negatively with some medications and mess with your stomach. Health experts say that 300 milligrams of caffeine, about the amount found in 3 medium cups of Tim Hortons coffee, is a safe, moderate amount for the day, but that each person is different and they should pay attention to how their body reacts. But good or bad effects, I just don't want to live without it.
And now, Mark Brown sits down with Debbie Crochet in this edition of 3 Minutes With. Let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Mark Brown, and I'm very pleased to be spending 3 minutes with Debbie Crochet from the Downtown Windsor Business Improvement Association. So Debbie, for those who aren't familiar, could you briefly explain what the DWBIA's mission is?
Sure. The Downtown Windsor Business Improvement Association represents 615 members in the city centre, and our purposes are to promote those businesses and doing business in the city core, as well as providing services of safety, security, cleanliness, and beautification. So a host of marketing initiatives and a great deal more.
So this has been a record-breaking year for the Windsor International Film Festival. 2,000 tickets sold at least over the previous year. How does that look for downtown business?
Well, Mark, as you may know, I'm a little biased when it comes to the Windsor International Film Festival. I was its first executive director for the initial 4 years. So having said that, I have had the opportunity to attend again this year, and the numbers were outstanding. There had articulated that they had about 17,500 in terms of ticket sales this year, which is unheard of. And we're very proud to know that the Windsor International Film Festival is the 4th largest in terms of attendance in all of Canada. That's huge for our city. But as far as it relates to downtown businesses, it's really exciting because those businesses are packed in what was typically a shoulder season. When we initially looked at the film festival, we really looked at what is the optimum time frame to host a film festival in Windsor, and we looked at the shoulder season because that's when your hotels are not busy. That's when your restaurants, particularly midweek and even on a Sunday, need that additional traffic. And those film goers, those who appreciate the cinematic arts and independent theatre, those folks don't have any hesitation in going out to dine or have a drink or do some retail shopping while they're down for the film as well. So it's very good for business.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So based upon the length and the length of the film festival and how big it's become, what other high-profile events through the year have been good for downtown?
Well, this year we launched a new festival called Fiesta Latina, which replaced Balloonapalooza. That was a very exciting event. It was in its inaugural year this year, and essentially it's a Latin American festival comprised of music, dance, and culture. So about 10,000 people. We expect that it will grow exponentially next year, and as most festivals do in their inaugural year. We also have Winterfest, which is coming up in a couple of weeks, and that will be held November the 28th. That's a parade, a holiday parade, and has about 50 floats that are participating. There's also a wine show that's a component of that, as well as a Santa's Forest and photo booth, so people can bring their families and friends out to visit.
Very quickly, any new restaurants or clubs that are creating a buzz?
Yeah, there are quite a few in the downtown, and there are a lot of old-time favorites. So M&A, it's not new, but it is yet to be discovered by a number of people, and that's on Pelicher. Really fabulous food and a wonderful experience. Farm Maxim, which is also on Pelicher, is a Vietnamese restaurant that is to die for, certainly worth attending. We have the March 21st Leaf and Bean, which is a coffee shop in the downtown, and we have several others that are real popular, the Rockefeller and so on.
Yeah, terrific. So that's all the time we have for this segment. I'm Debbie Crochet from the Downtown Windsor Business Improvement Association. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mark.
If you're a person who likes a good bubble bath or some nice soap for your shower, you may want to watch this story about Scented, a new business in Windsor.
It's another busy day for Jennifer White and her daughter Alyssa as they're busy producing their latest batch of cosmetic creations at their factory, HB Wax. Everything they make, from bath bombs to seasonal soaps, are sold locally at their new retail store, Scented, on Walker Road in Windsor. Jennifer says she and her husband have invested a lot of money into this venture and hope to be viable in 3 years.
We've invested close to $200,000 between here and the factory. It's been challenging. Everything has been fairly challenging, and it's been a steep learning curve for me.
White is one of many new entrepreneurs in the city, according to the Windsor-Essex Regional Chamber of Commerce. In a recent report released by the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, Windsor is quickly climbing up the list for the best communities to start a small business in. Matt Marchand is the president and CEO of the Chamber of Commerce. He says he was not surprised by the numbers because he sees so many shops choosing to stay.
Well, I would say we have a tremendous history and culture of small business in our region. If you want to get into whatever field you want to get into, you don't have to move to Silicon Valley, you don't have to move to Toronto, you don't have to move elsewhere. You can do whatever you need to do right here in Windsor-Essex.
Alyssa says although the experience has been tough on their family, she has learned an important lesson from her mother.
Definitely had a dream because she did this all by herself. She created everything like this. Yes, she did help from my dad, but this is all her ideas and the way that she wanted it to be.
Jennifer says if she can change one thing about this experience so far, it would be to start at a younger age. But despite the challenges she and her family have faced these past few years, she still encourages anyone with the dream of starting their own business to follow it.
Even if they did the exact same thing, I think it's wonderful. I think, you know, being an entrepreneur, you always worry about your business, but I mean, it's, yeah, I mean, I can't imagine a better place than people following their dreams.
Marchand says the Chamber of Commerce has programs in place to help all small businesses in the city. For MediaPlex News, I'm Justin Prince.
With the holiday season around the corner, some families in need are trying to make it special for their children. To help, Windsor firefighters and CTV have teamed up once more to hold Sparky's Toy Drive. Sean Previll tells us more.
Sparky the fire dog arrived at City Council Monday night to launch his toy drive. The program is put on by Windsor firefighters and several other sponsors to give families in need the ability to give their children a happy holiday. Sparky collected toys from counselors to add to the collection he'll give to parents so their kids have something to open at Christmas. People can drop off their own toys at any Canadian Tire, Costco, Dollar Tree, or fire station across Windsor. For MediaPlex News, I'm Sean Previll.
That's all from us here at the MediaPlex. I'm Chelsea Turnbull, and you have been watching MediaPlex News Now.
MediaPlex News Now is a production of the St. Clair College Journalism Program.